Welcome to Donna's World.
Hello everyone, welcome to Donna's World. Thank God it's Friday. Today we're launching a new section called Viewers' Voices. If you want to know what it's all about, you'll have to listen to this video till the end and all will be revealed. But first, I'm going to make some comments about Prince Harry of the United Kingdom and his actress wife, Meghan Markle, otherwise known as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. And the reason why I've chosen this topic this week is because Harry is turning 40 on Sunday. Now, 40 is a really big deal. It is, officially at least, the point at which you make the transition from youth to middle age. The point at which, officially at least, you're supposed to stop being an irresponsible spring chicken and fully embrace duty and family life and all those things that we associate with maturity. And I feel rather sorry for Prince Harry because he seems frozen in Boyhood. He doesn't come across as somebody who has become a grown-up in his own right. And even though he's a father now and he's married, he comes across as a boy who is being controlled by his older wife. Sometimes I get the feeling that she's even more like a sort of mother figure to him because of all this trauma he went through because of the premature death of his own mother, Princess Diana. And so, boys like that are probably more, boys who lose their mothers are probably more susceptible to being controlled by a woman who has a strong character, which Meghan undoubtedly does. Long story short, I don't think that he is being allowed the growth, the personal growth that he would have had if he was in a healthier relationship. I mean, look, who are any of us to say whose relationship is healthy or not healthy? I'm only expressing an opinion. I'm just saying that I grew up with Harry in the sense that I grew up in the UK and I've watched him from babyhood till now. And he used to be so carefree and cheerful, popular, gregarious, sociable. And then all of a sudden, this actress walks onto the stage of his life and everything changes. He no longer has a good relationship with his family. He is no longer in regular touch with the majority of the friends he had as a child. He seems so isolated. He says he's very happy in California. But, I find it hard to believe that this young man who is hardly ever smiles nowadays, looks so uptight. He's always in court suing somebody for one issue or the other. He just looks so miserable most of the time. And yeah, I blame Meghan for it. I think she has ruined part of his youth. That's the part of his life that happened before he was 40. And I think she looks set to ruin his middle age because, the part of his life that's now ahead of him as a 40-year-old. There is something called coercive control. And that's when you're in a relationship with somebody who dictates who you see and who you can like, who you can hang out with, and who doesn't really want you to have too many friends and isolates you from your relatives. And yeah, those of us who are not fans of Meghan believe that that is what she has done to Harry. And I think he's making the best of a bad situation because all these tours to Nigeria and Colombia, and I hear there are more such quasi-royal tours on the horizon. They don't really compensate for what he's lost. Um, well, first of all, let me say that I think these trips, like the one to Nigeria, which was not half as successful as they claim, because I was in Nigeria at the time, and I would say most people were sort of like bemused by their presence rather than enthusiastic, and they didn't meet any of the major government figures, and the British Embassy wasn't involved in their visit. And I imagine that the same thing happened in Colombia. It all looked rather second rate. And, as far as I'm concerned, because they were invited by the black vice president of Colombia and by the Nigerian chief of defense staff, who is, of course, black too. I kind of feel as if Meghan is using black people to sort of like promote her profile. And just kind of using us, exploiting black people, trying to sort of link her African American side. She's mixed race, but her mother is black. And she claims, by the way, to be partly Nigerian, or to have Nigerian ancestry. So she's using us to create some kind of role for herself in the politically correct global arena. And she's dragging Harry into it. And I don't know if he feels dragged, because I mean, sometimes maybe he's really genuinely very, very happy, but he doesn't look very, very happy. And there are people who don't even know whether they're happy or not. So, but I just think she's dragging Harry into her self-promoting attempt to become some kind of black global icon. And because, I mean, let's face it, before she met Harry, there wasn't much black going on in Meghan's life. Her first wedding was, as someone pointed out, an all-white affair. She married a white man. All the guests seemed to have been white, or most of them. Talking about photographs of her first wedding to the American film producer. There's no evidence that Meghan had any really close relationship with the black community. So I'm often amused when her black fans, and she has quite a few of those, tell me off or insult me for being a traitor because I'm not buying this whole thing about Meghan being into black issues. But anyway, so that's what Harry is involved in now. But they could, if they had managed their relationship with the British royal family better, have had a much more distinguished and serious relationship with the black world. Because late Queen Elizabeth, Harry's grandmother, offered them the opportunity to basically be the royal figureheads, to manage the royal family's relationships with different Commonwealth countries. And as you will know, there are many African and Asian and black and brown countries in the Commonwealth. And that would have been a really, really good platform for both of them, especially for her, if that's what she wants, to be seen all of a sudden as this great, advocate for Africa and the black race, the black diaspora. But, they threw it all down the drain. I'm sorry, I still remain unconvinced that anything was so terrible was done or said to them when they were within the royal family to justify the fact that they bolted and decided to go and do their own thing. Family conflicts are inevitable. You're never going to find everybody in a large family like the Windsors. Harry's family, you're never going to find everybody is on your side. It happens everywhere. It's very rare for anybody to have a fantastic relationship with all of their in-laws. But the thing is, who does Meghan have a fantastic relationship with apart from isolated individuals, many of whom don't seem to have been in her life for very long. And probably, if her past track record is anything to go by, are not going to be in her life for much longer either. I mean, where's that girl who was the matron of honor at her wedding, or whose children were her bridesmaids? Jessica Mulroney, the Canadian girl. Where is she? We haven't heard from her for ages. Where are the people that Megan went to primary school with? And I mean, I just feel really sad that Harry has attached himself to someone who has very poor relationships, or who doesn't really have plenty of strong relationships. And he used to have plenty of strong relationships. So he's gone from there to there. And I don't see the marriage lasting, but maybe it will. There are stories that he would like to reunite with his brother William. I think the conflicts, the alienation between Harry and William is one of the great tragedies, of the world, in the world of emotions. I mean, for any two brothers to be separated like that because of a wife or wives is really, really sad. I mean, maybe Kate, the Princess of Wales, maybe she was also to blame, but certainly called her out on this whole relationship breakdown issue between the two brothers. But whatever the cause may be, Harry is pretty much on his own, in my opinion. I don't buy all this stuff about him being deliriously happy in America. Love can make you grow, but love can also bring you down. And I think Harry clearly loves Meghan very much. But, I don't think that the love you can have for a lover or a wife or a husband can completely replace the love you've enjoyed from your nuclear family that you grew up with, and your sort of like extended family of cousins and uncles and aunties. One person cannot replace all those other important relationships, no matter how marvelous that person is. And I would say Meghan is far from marvelous. She is very pretty though, and she does this very well. But I can't connect with her personality or believe in her as a genuinely sincere and caring person who has Harry's best interests at heart. I'm just not buying it. And the thing that's kind of is so tragic is that even if Harry was to apologize to William, or William was to apologize to Harry, how would William and the king, their father, King Charles, how would they ever trust Harry again after he's gone public and washed so much dirty linen in public? And repeated private conversations and given away confidential information about what happens within that world. What I'm trying to get at is I'm just wondering whether this is Harry's lot for the rest of his life. Can he be forgiven? Will they ever take him back? Can they ever trust him? I mean, King Charles has cancer, or is recovering from cancer, and his sister-in-law, Kate, or Princess Catherine, also is a cancer survivor. At these critical points in family life, if someone is absent or at loggerheads with everybody else, it's really, really, going to be very difficult to mend those bridges, because if you're not there when you're needed emotionally and you're no longer trusted, is this it? Is Meghan going to, is he stuck alone with Meghan, more or less, and all her American and, rah, rah, rah friends? Will Meghan truly care for him and nurture him and stay with him and provide some kind of compensation if he's never able to reconnect with people he loved so deeply before she came on the scene. Will Harry at 45 be happier than Harry at 40? What do you think? Welcome to Viewers' Voices, a new section in which I share some of the comments I've received from people who have taken the trouble to watch Donna's World. Some of the comments may sometimes be negative, but I'm finding that most are positive, and I'm sorry I won't be able to mention everybody who has shared their thoughts with me, but I'll try my best to include as many people as possible, because if these videos are too long, people will lose interest. I've been told that actually YouTube videos of this type should never be more than about 30 minutes long, so I'm trying to keep to that. In fact, someone told me they should never be more than 10 or 15 minutes long. So anyway, I'll stop prattling on and get on with some of the comments. Now, these comments are responses to last week's video in which I talked about the tech revolution that's happened in our lifetimes. I talked about how we've gone from typewriters to laptops, and from landline telephones that were great big square things that sat on the table at home, to smartphones which we carry around with us. So, Mary from Florida remembers ice boxes and talks about her love for the modern refrigerator. Alison Davies remembers her dad coming home late when his office set up teletext messages to be sent overnight, and traveling by Apex and learning how to type on a manual typewriter. Muse 1950 says, today, through interacting with people online from all over the world, I have knowledge that my 26-year-old self would never have imagined. There are some days that I wish I could go back in time and insert a nickel in a payphone to make a local call, or hear the sound of the keystrokes from a manual typewriter. I know what you mean, Muse 1950. There is some nostalgia for some of the old ways, isn't there? I remember learning how to type on a manual typewriter, and it was fun. Then Sharon says she's a bona fide technophobe. She says she enjoys her iPad and iPhone, but feels that we're going too far with computerization. And I totally agree with you, Sharon, because I hate it when I go to a supermarket in the United Kingdom. I don't know what it's like in the States. I haven't been to supermarkets in America for years. But nowadays, before, there'd be some woman at a cash register keying in the stuff you were buying, give you a bill, and you pay her. Sometimes she might even chat to you or make a comment. There was human interaction. Now, so many supermarkets just have these machines where you're supposed to check your stuff out yourself. And, it's so sad, because not only does it mean that people are being deprived of jobs, and their jobs are being taken by, computerization. It just, it's impersonal, it's cold, and I don't like it. Pat Osmond remembers the advent of the microwave, which were a big deal in those days. Sandra Miller talks about preferring to read proper, good old-fashioned books. She says she likes the look and feel of them, and the smell even. She prefers that. She can see that it's convenient to have your books on your phone or some kind of reading device, computerized reading device, but she prefers real books, and so do I, Sandra. Um, I live in Nigeria where there's a limited range of books on offer in bookshops. So 90% of what I read now is from Kindle. Um, and I prefer the good old days. I love the feel of paper. And Randy Austin says the same thing. You know, she's a book lover and she prefers the real thing. So I'll quickly whiz back to the week before. Retirement, because we didn't talk about any of this at the time. Follow up. Lorna Henry says, it's a really good idea to talk about depression in general. I did retirement 2 weeks ago. If you haven't seen it, please go back and listen to that video. And she says it's a good idea. Lorna says it's a good idea to talk about depression. A lot of people find retirement grueling because of the loss of purpose, not to mention a loss of camaraderie from work colleagues. Okay? And I think that's really important. You know, having someone to banter with or argue with or even bitch about in the office, you can't get that if you're at home. So I'm one of those people who looks forward to retirement. But I do agree that the work environment provides a kind of social environment that's quite appealing. And I've been self-employed and working from home for quite some time. So I know that whole thing about not having anybody to gossip to in the office. So it doesn't just come with retirement, it comes with self-employment as well. Lorna also says she enjoyed hearing about how retirement affects Nigerians and about our totally different social structure here. And then there's Patricia Wask, who says, thank you, Patricia, I'm glad you liked my dress. I don't like anything I wear because I've got this obsession with not being slim, so I'm not wearing the kind of clothes I want, but I'm glad you liked my dress. She says she's 67, her husband's 72, they own their business and we still love going to work. But then, you know, they have a successful company and she says when they do retire, they will not have to sacrifice their lifestyle. That's she and her husband. And she's very sorry that so many Nigerians of retirement age cannot do so because there are no economic resources provided for citizens who've worked their whole lives and contributed so much to the country. Turn 6710 points out that people with hobbies or activities of interest to them tend to live longer, which is true. If you're going to go into retirement feeling miserable and having no hobbies, it's going to be a long, hard haul and pretty depressing. Then Sharon again says, it's comforting to know that other people are having to reckon with challenges linked to retirement. It can be extremely daunting trying to figure out when to pull that trigger and withdraw from the world of work, I assume she means. And then there's Heather Gillette, who says that men definitely regret retirement more than women do, which I think is true. We all know the male ego, it's more linked to work and, you know, anybody who knows men will understand why retirement affects men more adversely than it affects women. And, you know, Heather lives in Canada and enjoyed some insights I provided into the cultural attitudes in Nigeria. And finally, Mandy talks about not having had enough time to give to her profession because of being at home looking after children. And she says, I quote, I feel like there are not enough years left in my lifetime to finish everything I want to do professionally. And she basically doesn't want to retire. So just a couple of comments and reminders from me. You know, I mean, even this YouTube channel is an example of the miracles of technology. And there's a time when you couldn't just sit in your house or your office and generate a video and put it on the internet and create an audience for yourself. Before you had to be a sort of movie star or TV personality to have that privilege, to enjoy that privilege. Just quickly before I go, remember the couple of downsides to technology, like the way travel agents, most of them have been driven out of business by the fact that we can all book airline tickets and stuff online now. I remember the days when there used to be a nice little travel agent on every high street in the United Kingdom, and you go there and you sit there and you chat to a real human, and they might even suggest places you could go on holiday. Now you're on your own in front of your computer, sorting it all out yourself. Not as nice as the old ways. And I think continue to see both the good and bad sides of the technology revolution, retirement, and all the other things that we have to contend with as human beings who live in different parts of the world. So thank you for listening. And please don't forget to tune into my news program about self-improvement, which is called Wellness Wednesdays and will run every Wednesday for the foreseeable future. Bye.